Silence. That utterly deafening kind of silence that descends when the door finally closes behind the last child. Sound familiar? The room suddenly feels enormous, and all the familiar sounds, the laughter, the arguments, the music, have vanished. And in that quiet, one troubling question starts to surface. What now? Today we're going to talk about empty nest syndrome. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll see that this isn't the end of the world. It's actually your ticket to a new, rather exciting chapter. We'll discuss how to not just get through this period, but how to emerge victorious, absolutely bursting with energy and new plans. We'll look at the main pitfalls that can drag you down, and we'll find concrete steps to help you rediscover your zest for life. By the way, tell me in the comments, what sound in an empty house bothers you the most? Is it the creaking floorboards or the incessant ticking of the clock? Now let's be clear about one thing. Empty nest syndrome is not an official medical diagnosis. You won't find it listed in the medical textbooks, but that doesn't make the feeling any less real. It's a genuine state of profound grief, loneliness and longing that parents experience when their children grow up and finally leave home. And that is completely normal. Just think, you have spent 2, perhaps 3 decades living primarily in the role of mum or dad. That role was central. It dictated your routine, your worries, your joys, and your anxieties. Your whole identity was firmly wrapped up in parenthood. And then suddenly, that starring role seems to end. The curtain closes, the actors have left the building, and you're left standing alone on an empty stage. Naturally, that is a tremendous shock to the system. It feels like being made redundant from the most crucial job in the world, a job you were never prepared to leave. So the very first thing you need to do is acknowledge these feelings and realise that you are absolutely not alone. Millions of parents across the globe are going through this exact same thing right now. So the very first step towards healing, or maybe just feeling better, is acknowledging what you're actually feeling. Are you feeling down, lonely? Perhaps even a little cross? You must give yourself permission to feel it all. In our generation, we were often taught that we must be strong, put on a brave face, and above all, look delighted for the children. Of course, you are thrilled for them, but that genuine joy doesn't cancel out the personal pain or emptiness you might be feeling. It's like feeling immensely proud at a graduation, but simultaneously sad that a chapter has closed. These feelings can, and indeed should, exist side by side. Please don't try to bottle up the sadness and pretend everything is perfectly fine. Have a good cry if you need to. Talk it over with a close friend or your partner. Start a diary perhaps, just writing down all those jumbled feelings that have built up. Think of your emotions as a rushing river. If you build a great big dam to stop it, sooner or later, that pressure is going to burst through and cause a terrible flood. But if you simply allow the river to flow, it will gradually calm down and settle into its natural course. Your job isn't to halt the flow, but just to observe it, allowing it a natural release. Remember this, admitting your vulnerability is never a sign of weakness. It is, in fact, an enormous strength. The next big challenge is often what we call the loss of identity. Ask yourself that essential question. Who am I now that I'm not just mum or dad? And if the answer doesn't pop straight into your head, please don't panic. That's completely normal. For decades, your life revolved around coordinating school runs, parent-teacher meetings, cooking meals, and checking homework. You were effectively a full-time manager, chef, psychologist, chauffeur, and emergency triage nurse, all rolled into one person. And then, suddenly, all those responsibilities vanish. There's a huge vacuum. Naturally, your brain, stuck in the habit of caring, automatically tries to find someone else to manage. But the children are grown, they've flown the nest, and they simply don't need that level of input anymore. But this emptiness actually hides one of the greatest opportunities of your life, the chance to truly rediscover yourself. Who were you back then? What were those forgotten dreams of your youth? Did you put aside painting for a more sensible career? Were you planning a solo backpacking trip across the continent? Now is the perfect time to dust off those old dreams and pull them down from the shelf. This doesn't mean you stop being a parent, of course. That role is etched into your soul forever. But it's no longer your only role, and crucially, it doesn't have to be your main focus. It's time to introduce yourself to your other identities, the artist, the world traveller, the dancer, or simply the person who finally gets to enjoy the silence with a good cup of coffee. Another powerful source of stress, of course, is the fear we have for our children. It often feels like without our constant supervision, they are bound to get into a spot of bother. The endless questions cycle. Has he had a proper meal? Did she put a coat on? How will they ever cope with the practical, everyday problems? This fear, fueled by our own anxiety, compels us to constantly be on the phone, trying to monitor their every move. But let's be absolutely honest here. Your primary goal as a parent was always to raise an independent, capable, decision-making human being. And you know what? You've achieved it. It's high time now to trust the results of all those years of hard work. Of course, they are going to make mistakes. They'll certainly eat far too much rubbish, forget their woolly hats, and perhaps even shrink a favourite sweater in the wash. But those are their mistakes and their experiences to gain. By denying them the right to make those errors, we are essentially sending a message that says, I don't actually believe you can handle this. So instead of the anxious controlling question, have you had enough to eat? Try asking instead, what was the most interesting thing that happened today? Shift the focus entirely from the tedious domestic control to a genuine keen interest in their new adult life. This shift won't just relieve the enormous tension on your side, but it will help build a much more mature and respectful relationship with your adult children. Ultimately, trust is absolutely the greatest gift you can possibly give them now. Loneliness. That single word can feel the most frightening of all. The quiet dinners, the empty rooms, the sudden lack of that familiar hustle and bustle. This is felt particularly keenly by those of us who dedicated our entire lives to our children, often putting our own interests and friendships completely on hold. When the children leave, it can feel as though life itself walked right out the door with them. But here is the crucial bit. We need to understand the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is that crushing, weighty feeling of being forsaken or abandoned. Solitude, however, is the opportunity to be truly present with yourself, to hear your own thoughts clearly, and focus on the things that genuinely bring you joy. Your job now is to transform that feeling of loneliness into something powerful and restorative. How do we do that? We start small. Cook yourself a lovely meal, not because you have someone to feed, but purely for your own personal enjoyment. Put on your favourite music, maybe even light some proper candles. Go to the cinema or the theatre by yourself. At first, it might feel a little odd or awkward, but you'll gradually start to find real pleasure in it. You'll suddenly realise you don't have to compromise or adjust your plans for anyone else. You can watch the film you want to see, take a walk exactly where you fancy, and eat precisely what you love. This is not selfish, absolutely not. It is a healthy level of self-care and attention, something you've probably been lacking for far too many years. Let's take a moment to debunk a particularly unhelpful myth, shall we? This persistent idea that strong people don't cry, or that you simply must hold it together. This stereotype, often hammered into us since childhood, forces us to bottle up our emotions, which is utterly destructive to our mental well-being. Tears are not a sign of weakness. They are a perfectly natural physiological mechanism designed to relieve stress and tension. When we weep, the body releases enkephalins, those marvellous natural painkillers that truly help us cope with emotional pain. By stopping ourselves from crying, we simply allow the stress hormone, cortisol, to build up. Too much of it, and we end up battling sleep problems, high blood pressure, and even depression. So if you feel the urge to cry when you look at old photographs or glance into an empty room, please just cry. Don't feel ashamed of it. This is simply your body helping you to process loss. Think of a child who has fallen and grazed their knee. They cry, their mother comforts them, and they instantly feel better. Right now, you are that child with the grazed knee. Be kind to yourself. Allow yourself to be imperfect, vulnerable, and fully human. By releasing your grief through tears, you truly make room for new, brighter feelings to emerge. Let's move on now to the common pitfalls. The number one mistake so many parents make is what I call long-distance hovering. The young adult has flown the nest, but the phone, unfortunately, remains active. And that's when the endless stream of calls and texts begins. Where are you? What are you up to? Why haven't you replied? The parent is trying desperately to maintain the illusion of control they had before. In reality, though, this just turns into outright intrusiveness, which only serves to irritate the young adult and prevents them from settling into their new life. They are attempting to build their own world, and you're constantly barging in with unsolicited advice and endless status checks. This is a guaranteed path to conflict and estrangement. You must realize that your role has fundamentally changed. You are no longer the manager of their life, but rather a wise consultant whom they should approach when they feel the need. Establish new, sensible ground rules for communication. For instance, agree to a short daily call in the evening, or perhaps check in just once every few days. Give your child some breathing room. Paradoxically, the less you smother them with concern, the more inclined they will be to actually share their news with you willingly. Your deep love certainly hasn't disappeared, but it must now manifest itself, not through control, but through genuine trust and respect for their personal boundaries. The second mistake, and this is a major one, is idealizing the past. Or perhaps we should call it the nostalgia trap. Memory is a funny thing, isn't it? It's awfully clever at airbrushing out the tricky bits. It washes away the sleepless nights, the tantrums, the school struggles, and just leaves us with these lovely snapshots, the first steps, those hilarious phrases they used to say, the big family holidays. And then you find yourself sitting in this quiet house and sighing, "Oh, wasn't it glorious when the children were little?" That nostalgia trap forces you to live entirely in the past, completely devaluing your present life, and effectively robbing you of your future. Life then seems utterly perfect, while life now feels grey and meaningless. That is a straight road to feeling down, or even to depression. So what's the solution? First, be brutally honest with yourself. Try to recall not just the sheer joy, but the absolute exhausting chaos of full-time parenting. Remember how desperate you were just to have a decent night's sleep, or how much you longed for an evening out, just the two of you. Secondly, you must stop the comparison game. Then, and now, are two completely different, incomparable chapters of your life. Each has its own distinct upsides and downsides. Yes, the sound of children running around the house might be gone, but now you have freedom, you have time for yourself, and crucially, you have the chance to build a brand new, grown-up partnership relationship with your adult children. By clinging so tightly to the past, you are genuinely missing out on all the wonderful new opportunities that your present life is offering you right now. The third, and perhaps most serious mistake, is simply taking your partner for granted. For many years, the children were often the glue that held the whole family together. Every conversation, every plan, every worry revolved around them. But now that glue has dissolved, you're left alone with the person you've shared decades with, and suddenly you realise you don't actually have much to talk about anymore. When you look at each other, you no longer see the man or woman you fell in love with. You just see the father or the mother of your children. Simmering resentments and unresolved issues that were once hidden behind the hustle and bustle of family life now rise to the surface. This is a critical moment for many couples. Some simply don't make it, and they decide to go their separate ways. But for others, it becomes a chance for a second honeymoon, an opportunity to rediscover each other. Start dating again, just like you did when you were young. Don't talk about the children. Talk about yourselves, your feelings, your dreams, and your future plans. Find a shared hobby. Perhaps you could start learning Italian together, or maybe take up dancing. Remember what connected you two in the first place, beyond simply raising a family. This period is definitely a test of your relationship's strength, but it is also a unique chance to make your bond deeper, warmer, and much more meaningful. The fourth common mistake is trying to fill that inner void with just whatever comes along. They say nature abhors a vacuum, and our own minds are much the same. When something important or significant leaves our lives, we instinctively try to plug that gap. And sadly, we often choose less than healthy methods to do it. Some people hit the shops, buying things they don't really need. Others might turn to comfort eating, or perhaps a bit too much alcohol. And some dive headfirst into work, becoming real workaholics. But all these things are just a temporary sticking plaster. They don't address the root cause, they simply dull the symptoms for a while, leaving us with new problems. Maybe crippling debt, unwanted weight gain, or growing health worries. Rather than running away from that feeling of emptiness, try facing it head on. What do you actually see in there? Is it sadness? Is it fear? Give yourself permission to truly feel and process those emotions. And then, consciously and deliberately, start filling that space. Not with random clutter, but with things that genuinely bring you joy and a sense of purpose. That might mean finding a new passion, taking up volunteer work, or perhaps looking after a beloved pet. The crucial point is that this choice must come from a place of intention, not as a knee-jerk reaction to simply run away from your feelings. Stop filling your life with junk and start filling it with treasures instead. And finally, the fifth crucial mistake is completely retreating into your shell. You stop meeting up with friends because you just can't be bothered. You turn down invitations to parties because you worry you'll drag everyone down. You start to feel completely misunderstood. Friends with young children seem far too busy and hectic, and those who are long past that stage have you feel forgotten what it's like. And so you find yourself alone with your pain, stuck within four walls. This kind of social isolation is the quickest road straight to clinical depression. We are social creatures. We need human connection. It is vital that we share our worries and receive support. Don't push away those who genuinely want to help you. Pick up the phone and ring an old friend. Go and visit family members. Look for dedicated forums or social media groups where people dealing with similar situations, the classic empty nest feeling, are chatting. You'd be amazed how many people are going through the exact same thing. Hearing about someone else's experience, along with a little human kindness, can be a real lifeline. Don't build a wall around yourself. Build bridges instead. Right then, now that we've covered the common pitfalls, let's crack on with some specific actions. Where should you begin? Start with the house. For years, your home has been tailored entirely around the children's needs. Perhaps one of the bedrooms is still referred to as the kids' room, even though it stood empty for ages. Well, it's high time you claim that space back for yourselves. This doesn't mean you need to immediately clear out all their belongings and forget they ever existed. Absolutely not. But you certainly can, and should, start thinking about a proper reorganisation. Start by having a good sort out and a rearrangement. Perhaps you've always fancied turning the spare room into your own study, a proper crafting workshop, or a lovely comfortable guest room. Or maybe you want a spot for that treadmill you've been promising yourself. Have a chat about this with your adult child. Chances are they will completely understand and fully support you. Changing the physical space around you inevitably triggers internal changes too. It's a symbolic marker for the beginning of this new chapter. By tidying away the old posters and school textbooks, you are essentially telling yourself, the past was wonderful and I cherish those memories, but now I am living in the present and I'm actively creating a comfortable new space for the life I'm living now. So, the next step is a bit of a spring clean of your old hobbies. Cast your mind back to when you were 16, 18 or 20. What were you truly passionate about? What really made your heart sing? Maybe you used to strum the guitar and write your own songs. Perhaps you devoured science fiction novels. Or did you absolutely love sewing or knitting? Then adult life took over, the family, the children, and suddenly there was just no time or energy left for your hobbies. That old guitar is probably gathering dust in the attic now, and the knitting needles and yarn are tucked away in some forgotten drawer. Well, it's high time to dig them out. Don't worry that you've forgotten everything. Muscle memory is a marvellous thing. Your fingers will remember those chords all by themselves, and your hands will instinctively know how to cast on those stitches. Going back to these youthful passions isn't just a way to fill your time. It's a chance to reconnect with a part of yourself that you left behind years ago, the part that was free, creative, and full of dreams. It's an incredibly therapeutic process that helps you remember who you truly are, outside of the role of being a parent. And who knows, maybe that old hobby will blossom into something much bigger. If your old hobbies aren't holding your interest anymore, or maybe you never really had any, now is the perfect time to try something completely new, something you might have told yourself you'd never attempt. You have an invaluable resource in your hands right now, free time, and you can dedicate that time to your most adventurous, boldest experiments. Have you always watched couples dancing tango with admiration? Go ahead and sign up for a trial class. Ever dreamed of working with clay? Find your nearest pottery studio. Wanted to learn Spanish so you could watch those foreign series in the original language? There are hundreds of fantastic online courses available. The key here isn't achieving immediate mastery. The real value is in the process itself. Taking on new activities creates fresh neural connections in the brain. This literally rejuvenates you and helps safeguard against age-related decline. You'll meet new people, step outside your usual routine, and gather amazing new experiences. Don't worry about looking foolish or feeling clumsy. Everyone in those classes started as a beginner. Give yourself permission to be a student again. The sheer delight of finishing that first pot you made, or finally mastering that dance move, can be just as powerful as the joy you felt when your child got their first A at school. While raising the children, you often put the most important person on the back burner, yourself. This is especially true when it comes to your health and well-being. I'll do it later. I don't have the time. The children come first. These little excuses were your constant companions. Well, that later moment has finally arrived. It is high time to start looking after number one. We are not talking about suddenly signing up for a marathon. Start with that full medical checkup you've been putting off for years. Get your teeth seen to and make sure your eyes are checked. After that, choose a physical activity that you genuinely enjoy. Hate the thought of a sweaty gym? Try gentle yoga or Pilates instead. Don't fancy jogging. Go for a swim or simply take long, enjoyable walks in the park. Movement is truly the best natural antidepressant. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, those wonderful, feel-good hormones. You'll find your sleep is better and your self-esteem gets a lovely boost. Looking after your body isn't an act of selfishness or narcissism. It is a fundamental need. When you feel strong, healthy, and energetic, navigating any emotional difficulties becomes significantly easier. Your body is your greatest ally in life. It is time to become friends again. We've talked before about how the children leaving home, the empty nest, can be a real challenge for a couple, but it's also a fantastic opportunity for a relationship reset. Remember, you didn't originally choose this person just to raise children with them. You chose them because you had fun together, you were interested in each other, and you felt good simply being together. The children were a wonderful joint project, but that phase is complete now. It's time to launch a brand new venture, just the two of us. What's the roadmap for this new chapter? Firstly, communication. Start talking to each other again. And I don't mean just about bills or household maintenance. Talk about feelings. Ask your partner genuine questions. How are you truly feeling right now? What are you missing? What do you dream about? Secondly, quality time. Make a tradition of having a weekly date night. This could be a meal out, a walk in the park, or even just an evening at home. But absolutely no TV and no gadgets. Just the two of you. Thirdly, bring back the romance and the flirting. Give each other compliments, exchange little gifts just because, and make sure you hold hands. It might feel awkward or even a bit silly at first, but stick with it. Slowly but surely, you'll rediscover that spark, the one that seemed to have faded away under the weight of decades of domestic routine. Once the house feels empty, the world outside should become a much more open and welcoming place for you. It really is high time to kickstart your social life again. Think about all those old friends you lost touch with because family commitments took up all your time. Give them a ring, perhaps invite them over for a coffee or a proper cuppa. Chances are some of them have already navigated the empty nest phase and can share some really valuable wisdom. Don't feel you have to limit yourself to your old circle either. Taking up a new hobby or joining a local course is a brilliant way to meet new folks who share your passions. And don't be afraid to strike up a casual conversation, a bit of small talk, with your neighbours, the people in the shops, or folks you see in the park. The more social connections you build up, the less isolated you'll feel. On top of all that, why not consider volunteering, helping others, be it looking after animals at a shelter, assisting the elderly, or spending time with children in hospitals, is such a powerful way to feel needed and truly significant. When you give your warmth and kindness, you receive so much more back in return, a sense of purpose and deep satisfaction that you simply cannot buy. The empty nest phase isn't the end of the line. It's actually the perfect stepping stone to jump into exciting new chapters. You finally have all that extra time and perhaps some financial wiggle room now that the kids are grown and gone. Where should you spend that resource? Well, how about education? Have you ever thought about going back to university, maybe doing a second degree? Or perhaps picking up a brand new skill, something you've always been genuinely curious about? The opportunities are endless now, especially with online courses and virtual universities readily available. Learning later in life doesn't just broaden your mind, it's wonderful brain exercise. It's like a daily workout, keeping you sharp and preventing mental fatigue. Another brilliant option is travel, and you don't have to jet off to the other side of the world immediately. Why not start by exploring your local patch? Visit those nearby towns and cities you've only ever heard whispers about. Plan a short road trip, maybe a couple of nights away. New places and fresh experiences are truly the best remedy for getting stuck in a rut or feeling a bit low. You'll suddenly see how huge and varied the world is outside your front door, and you'll realise that your own life can be just as vibrant and fulfilling. All you have to do is take that crucial first step across the threshold. And of course, it's tremendously important that we take a good look at our relationship with the children now they're grown. They are no longer those small, helpless beings we once protected. They are fully fledged, independent adults, and naturally, our communication must adjust accordingly. We need to shift from that old parent-child dynamic right into an adult-to-adult relationship. What exactly does this mean in practice? Well, for a start, stop giving unsolicited advice. Reserve your opinions for when they are specifically requested. We must respect their choices, even if, frankly, we don't approve of them. And that covers everything: their spouses, their professional lives, and their entire way of living. Our primary objective now is not to police or control, but simply to offer steadfast support. Be the safe haven, that quiet harbour they know they can always return to, confident that they will be met with acceptance and understanding. Show a genuine interest in their lives, but please do avoid anything resembling an interrogation. Crucially, share your own life with them too. Talk about your new hobbies, your plans, and your adventures. Let them see that you have a vibrant, interesting life, entirely separate from theirs. This will not only alleviate that subconscious guilt they often feel about having left you alone, but it will actually earn you greater respect. Relationships founded on true friendship and mutual respect are infinitely stronger than those merely based on duty or obligation and control. We often talk about feelings of sadness and just feeling a bit blue, and that's perfectly normal. But it's really important to know how to tell the difference between those low spirits and actual clinical depression. So where exactly does that dividing line lie? You need to look out for what we call the red flags. These include if your low mood lasts longer than 2 or 3 weeks without lifting, if you find you've lost interest in all the things you used to genuinely enjoy, if your sleep is seriously disturbed, either you can't drop off at all, or perhaps you're sleeping 12 or 14 hours a day, yet still feel utterly exhausted or knackered. Watch out too if your eating habits have changed dramatically. You might have no appetite at all and start losing weight, or Conversely, you might find yourself constantly overeating. Another sign is struggling to concentrate on simple things, even reading a book or following a simple conversation. And crucially, if you start having thoughts about life being pointless, or perhaps even thoughts of death, all of these are serious warning signs that we simply mustn't ignore. Things like empty nest syndrome can often act as a major trigger, a catalyst for developing full clinical depression, especially if you were already predisposed to it. If you've spotted a few of these red flags in yourself, the most important, and indeed, the most courageous step you can take is to reach out for professional support. That means a counsellor or a therapist. There is still a stubborn old stereotype in our society that only people who are seriously unwell go to see these specialists. That is absolute nonsense. Depression isn't just about having a bad character or simply being lazy. It is a genuine medical condition, as real as diabetes or gastritis, caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. And crucially, it needs treatment. A therapist can help you navigate your feelings, rediscover your inner resources, and work out a practical strategy for moving through the crisis. In certain circumstances, medication may also be necessary. This would be prescribed by a qualified psychotherapist or psychiatrist. There is absolutely nothing to be afraid of regarding modern antidepressants. They are not addictive, and they help your nervous system recover and rebalance. Asking for help when you cannot cope alone is nothing to be ashamed of. The real shame would be letting this illness steal years of a full and happy life from you. Let's take a moment to sum things up, shall we? The children leaving home is absolutely not a tragedy, and certainly not the end of the road. It's simply a crucial, natural transition. Yes, it can be painful, as any major life change often is. But on the other side of this shift, a magnificent new door opens for you. A door leading to a world where you finally have the time and the glorious freedom just for yourselves. You have completed an enormous, incredibly important journey. You've successfully raised new human beings. Now you have the unique opportunity to rebuild your own life, anchored firmly by your experience and wisdom. Perhaps the most wonderful twist in all of this is that your relationship with your children may actually become even better, deeper, more honest, and certainly warmer. When the need for supervision and constant care disappears, what remains is purely love and friendship. That empty nest of yours isn't truly empty at all. It's simply waiting for you to fill it up with new meanings, new joys, and brand new dreams. Thank you so much for watching right to the very end. If you found this useful, please do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next episodes. And now for a question for you all. What hobby or what dream did you put off while you were busy raising the children? Do share in the comments below. Let's inspire one another.